Good to see you. I'm Bob Kuebler. This is my good friend Jimmy Darby, and we are out here at a place that I call Vision Falls. You will not find it on a map. Don't go look in the GPS Vision Falls. Vision Falls came about because of a vision that God gave me a long time ago, and I went searching for that vision. He had given me a vision of being in the woods, in the rain, by a waterfall, near a mountain, and I went seeking that vision. So really where we're at right now is a place where we walk down into like a valley, and we're sitting on top of a waterfall that might be maybe, I don't know, 50 feet. And you probably don't hear the waterfall because it's like the end of summer here in Buffalo, New York, and it's kind of dried up. So Jimmy and I are been brought together by a group called Open Buffalo, and Jimmy's involved in the leadership program, Emerging Leaders they're called, in Open Buffalo. And I was asked to come aboard as a mentor. And before I ask Jimmy to say hello and say a few words, mentoring is about two people or many people, it could be group mentoring, that actually teach each other. That's what true mentoring is. Nobody is ever like a top down, like mentoring one person to another. It's always an equal sharing when two people come together, because each teacher is a learner and each learner is a teacher. So Jimmy, how'd you get involved with Open Buffalo and the Emerging Leaders program?
Well, Bob, I was asked by the Buffalo Peacemakers that there was an opportunity to grow my development and leadership, and they asked me to come aboard to Open Buffalo to be a part of this mentor program. I think it lasted about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And basically is I want to make a difference in the community of the inner city.
So you recently went to Beaver Conference Center for a weekend retreat. Tell us about that. You may have to speak up a little bit because we got birds yakking in the background. They want to be a part of the video too, but later, birds.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity to grow myself, to learn how to reflect. It took us out of society. People, I still say it was no cell phones, just learning experiences, and learned about each other. It was a diverse crowd. Basically, we told stories of why we are here doing what we're doing in the community. And one thing we found out is people just don't stop and listen to somebody's story. And a lot of people just won't tell their story. So we learned how to tell our story to make it our story. That's what this program is about, is growing your development.
Wow, that's awesome. Speaking of stories, one of the things that Jimmy and I are going to do, we're going to write a book about our experience of mentoring each other. And on the way out here, we shared a bunch of stories. We get caught up on each other's lives and what was going on and how you've been doing things and this and that. And Jimmy quoted something from his father that I immediately saw as a page all by itself in our book. And what was the quote by your dad that you gave me? You say.
My father would often tell me that when he's trying to teach me something or I'm experiencing something in life, he would often tell me if I keep living, I will learn.
Wow.
And I live by that, because meaning that I just haven't grown enough to experience that part of life yet. When he was in pain, he said, "You keep living, you're gonna learn."
Wow, that's awesome. You keep living, you're gonna learn. It's an awesome way of saying, a lot of us, when we go through hard times, it's like, why, God? How come I'm going through this? Why do I got to go into the valley of the shadow of death? Versus, if I keep going into the valley, I'm going to learn. We got a chipmunk over here?
Yeah, it's a chipmunk.
Good to see you, Chipper.
Yeah.
You can learn from everything because all things work together for good. So our goal for the book is trying to help other people going through the mentoring process, ultimately to give God glory, because really we don't want to do anything all about that, and that's the most special part. Now, today is also a special day in your life regarding your dad.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Today will be the last time I actually was able to hold my dad alive. I was visiting him for the Labor Day weekend last year, and Labor Day is the day I pulled out to return back home. So that is the last time I physically saw my dad alive.
Wow.
I woke up this morning with that on my mind. But it's a great memory. We had a great time together. Um, so I cherish this day now because it's a good
Mm.
laboring day for me.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of labor to see him, to drive all the miles. And but it's a good day. Um, I'm happy I made that trip last year.
Mm. Wow. It is special to have a son talk about his father. I've been blessed with three fathers. My biological father died before I was born. He was in a car accident in December. I was
Wow.
born in February. So never really knew him outside the womb. And my mom eventually got married again to a guy that raised me, and he was a great dad. And then I have a father in heaven who loves me enough that he gave his son to die for me and my mistakes. So that's a very cool thing. And one beautiful thing is when we talk about young people, especially in the city of Buffalo, many young guys have been shooting each other. They die. They haven't really had a father in their lives. There's an emptiness on the inside that causes a bitterness, and that bitterness doesn't allow them to value themselves or human life, and that's why you've got a large body count of young men dying. And if we could demonstrate the Father's love, we could help keep some of them alive. And what I often promise to mothers who have lost a son, I will keep your son alive through my words about their life. Because you can raise them up and use them, their death, so to speak, or the life they live to keep somebody else alive to hopefully influence their decisions. So, Jimmy, your dad's living on through you, and you're making a difference in the community. You're part of the Peacemakers. Most recently, Friday night, you were down at the Buffalo Little Loop football program as a member of the Peacemakers, just trying to make a difference in the community. Tell us a little bit about why or how you go out into the community as a peacemaker.
Well, as a Buffalo Peacemaker, we do several different things. We report to homicides, try to be a mentor between the Buffalo Police Department and the public so that it could be a better understanding of what the police are doing and to keep the public back out of the crime scene so that the police can investigate the homicide scene properly. We also like to do community service such as coming to block club parties, family functions if you may have it. We want to come to the positive things as well. And we also partner with the Board of Education doing the rites of passage, which allows us to go into 4 locations in the Buffalo public school system. But we just assure that the kids are getting on the bus and going straight home from school instead of hanging out at the store. Trying to ensure that the store owners are not selling tobacco products to these young kids. The football, the Little League, we contract with the Little League to assist with the Buffalo Police Department to help with crowd patrol, keeping the parents off the field, making sure the coaches are, not beating up the referees and stuff like that. But that we are there, we are a community service. We encourage the public to use us. Let us know what's going on, and we can come out to your event and just be there as a pleasant moment. We're not there to get anybody in trouble. We don't make arrests. We don't do arrests, and a lot of people have us mixed up with that. That's not what we're here for.
That's a beautiful thing. So it sounds like what you're really doing is you're almost like a big brother. You're trying to keep the disadvantages away from them, and thereby in that process, that helps to create an advantage of a safe atmosphere to grow and nurture and become all that God intended them to be.
Yes.
Now last Saturday, or last weekend, you were involved in another very special event. It seems like your life is going from special event to special event right now, which is a very cool thing. So I'm honored to know you want to catch on to some of these special events.
There you go, yes.
So you were a part of the Restorative Justice Program. They had a graduation, and you've been through it before. So not almost like you're becoming a mentor in that program. Tell us about your experience with restorative justice.
Well, restorative justice is something I have a heart and passion for. The crimes that are committed sometimes don't require judicial overseeing. clogging up the court calendars. So restorative justice is to give you an alternative of was it penal law, which will be overseen by a magistrate, but it just won't require any jail time. It'll give you an alternative. So if little Johnny break a window, he could maybe do some community service for the homeowner to replace that window for the homeowner. And it won't go on his record where he can't maybe one day go to college or something. We look for just different pathways besides locking a young youth up. We don't want to see that. And the main thing with the training this week, a couple weekends ago, were circle training, where you sit in a circle and have a talking piece, and only one person is allowed to talk, and the other people in the circle give their input on the questions asked. So we are talking about, for instance, little Johnny breaking the window. What should his punishment be? And everybody give their input on it, and then at the end we decide have we solved that matter. So, and it's a very good practice, something that we've been using, but it's just now maybe time to bring it back and reinforce it.
Wow. Now, when I walked into that event, you were kind enough to invite me there, and along with Bishop Floyd. Bishop Floyd was there, and when I walked in, it was almost as if you were talking about, well, after we'd been there a while, you're talking about being in the leadership of Open Buffalo, or being employed, or being one of their directors, or tell me more about the Open Buffalo thing, your future. You have something in your heart that you think you're walking towards. Tell us what your goals might be.
My goals are to come up with an alternative program for the restorative justice practice. And through that, it needs to be employed, maybe through an organization. And I put a call into Open Buffalo. They had a member leaving, so I figured that was a job opening. So I just immediately put a plug in there. But I just see myself with some type of reform, transformation from detention centers, whether it be a transitional house, curfew and truancy center. I used to work in a curfew and truancy center before, and it worked well. It kept the kids accountable, and the curfew kept the kids off the street in the evening, so you could bring crime down. I'm seeing a lot of different avenues here in Buffalo that I can utilize my skills and my sources with.
That's awesome. So basically, you have, I'm going to call him a young man, because everybody to me pretty much these days is a young man. You have a young man who's got dreams and goals, and God is first in his life, and he kind of like wants to be like a father to guys that haven't had them, a brother to guys, and so my hat's off to you. That's, Buffalo's in a good place right now. There are emerging leaders through Open Buffalo and other organizations, but there's something happening almost like in the atmosphere. There's a greater grasping that God has an enlarged place in his heart for the people of Buffalo and the young people. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of it. I'm going to wrap up this segment with a story about a bee, and it's kind of like catch the buzz. Last week, I was getting gas down at Delta Sonic on Main Street, and I'm getting gas, and when I got back in my van, there was a bee on the outside of the windshield. Now, the bee's buzzing back and forth right in front of me, but he's on the outside of the windshield. So I start driving, and I'm driving across the parking lot about maybe 5 miles an hour, general cruising speed as you're going through a parking lot. The bee is still back and forth on my windshield as I'm moving forward. So you got these motions going on, and I was thinking to myself, this bee doesn't have a clue that he's moving forward when he thinks he's stuck in one spot. And I thought, that's like my life, and maybe somebody else. Sometimes we think that we're stuck in one spot and God's not moving. The fact is, God never stops moving. Regardless of how deep within a problem we are, or how big of an obstacle, we think our feet are in the miry clay. He's removing the stone. Even though we think that miry clay is going to become a stone and we're going to be cemented forever in a bad place, God is removing the stone like the bee going back and forth on a windshield. That's the buzz. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Bob Kuebler, Jimmy Darby. Jesus loves you, and so do